Greetings and salutations. Happy Wednesday as I'm recording that. Is that what day it is now? I believe so. So this, at the base of the Blue Mountains, or at the base of Blue Mountain, I should say. I don't know why I'm going to keep putting the in there. Hey, Ian. Stumbled across, I think it was posted. The person who created this is a regular on the OSR Discord, and I think they posted this up. And from thence, I have grabbed it and I'm presenting it here to you. I don't know if this should be considered, beta or whatnot. I think they did it kind of a pure act of creation, sort of put it out there. They mentioned, you can see here on the side, I've got the itch page that, I think we'll call it kind of, I don't know, quotes beta, open beta. That's not their words, it's mine. Just says there's probably spelling errors, grammar errors. It's very simple layout here. It's just Markdown that's been printed to PDF, which is totally fine by me. But just in terms of setting expectations, it's name your own price on itch. It has 7 dungeons, 57 stocked hexes, 6 factions. So it seems really cool. And it was inspired by Wolves Upon the Coast. And in fact, Luke Gearing's already chimed in. There is one file. So what happens is when you download this, it comes in a zip file. There are multiple PDFs and then the source markdown files. This file here that we're actually looking at, I think just by omission. Well, in fact, this is what Luke mentions and then the author responds. This first document, which is probably pretty important because I think it helps. Hopefully, as with normal things, I only have opened up the files. I haven't read them or anything. Setting the context for everything. That is one that's only in Markdown. Luckily, I have a Markdown converter, so I simply converted it to a PDF. So if you download this, just know that this file, as I'm showing it in PDF form, does not exist, but it is there in Markdown. So if you open it up in a text editor like here, you can see this is just, what is this? This is Virtual Studio Code. Here's the file. You can find it in the Markdown stuff. I just went ahead and printed it out. So with that out of the way, let's dig into it. An overview of Blue Mountain. The following documents detail the mountain range home to Blue Mountain, the strange lands referred to as the Steel Plains, and the remains of the sunken city called the Waters. There are 6 notable factions in the area, which are summarized in the faction section. Okay, each of the 7 dungeons are detailed after the hexfill. All right, so that's great. I'm getting okay. I think we get the idea. That just yes, it was posted. There you go. Well, it caught my attention, Ian, and I always like to try to support the small folk like myself. So yeah, this is brand new, hot, and of course it's a hex crawl, so that automatically piques my interest. But yes, this is hot off the presses, brand spanking new, as they say. All right, so the overview is fine. That part's good. Okay, what's going on? In the Blue Mountains, an old group of animated statues huddle around the embers of their dying empire. One of them, Limestone 7, stole a valuable artifact called the Blue Needle from the Grimm, transparent orange automatons that are fueled by memory. The Grimm, in their frantic and paranoid search for the Blue Needle, will burn and pillage the kingdom of Shatermo, a small empire which has expanded to the upper and lower parts of the Blue Mountains during its brief existence. Oh, and we also have, which I will pull up, this handy-dandy hex map. So I'll kind of toss over here. Is there an easier way? No, I don't want it to go there. Yeah, I'll just toss that here. Okay, so let's see. The lower parts of the Blue Mountains during its brief existence. Okay. In the waters, a giant red macaw is terrorizing the village of Chiamu. The leader of Chiamu is concerned because their sister village, Dexume, has gone quiet. In truth, the village was destroyed for a slight against the animated men. These 2 villages are connected by Koche's Regret, a large city built upon the neck and shoulders of a colossal statue. The leaders of Koche's Regret are concerned about a recent earthquake which revealed the tomb of the ancient warrior Koche. The discoveries therein could shake things up in the city and unleash a powerful evil on the world. In the Steel Plains, the Chunti live in an uncomplicated life in the shadow of the ruins of a steel megastructure. Recently, an amoeba-like creature has begun terrorizing the wildlife and any Chunti it comes across. This is not the first time the Blue Mountains have faced this threat. All right, So this is so there's a lot to digest, there. I like having this overview, but I don't know if there's a better way to do it. And I'm not even really specific because this happens a lot. You have kind of this lore dump that you have to get out to the game masters, to the referees, and I get it. And we've got all the stuff that we need to want to get out. And I like having kind of the overview. At the same time, man, there are a lot of names and things that I'm going to not remember in about a minute from now. So hopefully they'll restate this when we get to different sections, or maybe we'll just have to refer back to this when we're trying to get things organized. Now, this is the labeled map. It doesn't have any place names on it. And I don't know what the colors mean. So we'll have to see how this relates. But there are two maps in the PDF, in the zip file. This one and one that's unlabeled. I picked the labeled one because, we're looking at it from the game master perspective. So I presume that's who it's for. But there are no place names or anything on here, any indicators. So we'll have to see how this map relates to the proceedings and if the colors have some kind of meaning. Ian says, for those who want to follow along at home, you can use the Markdown Reader Chrome extension from your browser. Yes, if you have a Markdown Reader or even just Notepad, it won't look amazing. It'll look like just plain kind of text, but you can read it. That's one of the nice things about Markdown is it's eminently readable in just about any. Over. So now there's more. The Black Mist. Black mist, which prevents sight or travel beyond the bounds of the map. Entering into this mist is a death wish, but some miners in the Blue Mountains have braved the very edge of the mist to gain valuable minerals. So I'm guessing that this lighter blue area outside the hexes would be that mist. A note on magic. Magic at the base of Blue Mountain works a bit differently than normal. Essentially, once a person's interacted with the Loom Stone and sacrificed one hit die, they may travel around the map and collect spells for their arsenal by interacting with the world. All magicians must first use the Loom Stone before they gain the ability to cast a spell. So that's pretty cool. So you have to interact with this. So I like it, I guess. I always like magic that is more than or improves upon, I guess, the interaction, which is just my spell book. And in older games, this is often through trying to find and collect and barter for various spells that you would write into your book. Like that was cool, right? When you get to kind of modern gaming, they even kind of got rid of that artifice and you just sort of magically learn new spells, you level up and they go in your book and the book isn't even really a thing. I like this concept because I think it's nice that you have to make an effort to want to be a magician. And Wolves Upon the Coast, which we've looked at in the past, has this as well, where you really are making an effort and you have to pay a cost to do things. So, in Worlds Upon the Coast, anybody can cast spells, but you have to have sort of, I think, the ingredients or reagents, or you have to have the stuff to do it. And then if you want that as a permanent spell, you have to pay some kind of cost, maybe doing something. But usually there's both a consequence, physical to your character, or some kind of permanent change. And then also you do something, or the two things are combined. Like you have to burn up your arm in a fire, and then you can cast Fireball once a day. But you lose your arm, of course, you have to go to maybe some kind of special fire, and then you have to basically burn your arm in there, right? Something like that. And that's just an example off the top of my head. I don't know how accurate it is, so don't hit me up with me misremembering it. I think you understand the point I'm getting at. I like here, too, is that you have to be intentional. You don't start the game with magic, but if that's something as a character you want as your goal, you could do that, but now you're going to have to go find that Loomstone, and then once you get there, you're going to have to sacrifice that hit die. So you're going to pay, you got to do that kind of adventure hook, whatever it is to do, and then make a real substantial cost to your character. So you're not going to get that. You may go up more levels, so you'll get more hit dice, but that original hit die ain't coming back. And of course, it's going to make you, depending on when you do it in your career, substantially weaker. So you can't do it. You could maybe do it at first level and just go down to normal person. I'm not sure, but really it's a second level thing, kind of. And then you are going to then just, if you do it early because you want to be a magician for life, then you're potentially going to be really significantly hampered. Of course, if you wait till high levels to do it, it may mean less, but then you'll have spent a long time not being a magician. Okay, next up, a note on hexes. The hexcrawl of Blue Mountain has no scale. In the process of writing and playtesting the module, the author Refrain from sticking a distinct numerical number on the hexes. The scale you decide to put on the hex doesn't matter all that much. There are a few considerations to keep in mind when doing so. The proximity of the factions to each other will influence how quickly they encounter each other and the speed at which the events suggested at this module occur. The time it takes to travel between major cities will vastly change how random encounters occur. In the author's playtest game, the original Wolves Upon the Coast rules were followed, save for the Blue Mountains themselves, which were traveled at a rate of 1 full hex per day. The mountains, regardless of scale, are meant to be hard to traverse. Okay, so I think it's safe to probably, if you don't have something, use the Wolves Upon the Coast rules, which are free. I wouldn't have minded maybe if there's some tweaks to this to just put in those rules or just put in some generic rules. But I'm going to go on a limb and say this probably wouldn't be, I don't think it's designed in mind for someone who, hey, this is my first hex crawl. I don't know at all what I'm doing. But there you go. You can grab them from Wolves Upon the Coast. Hopefully we'll get an idea, because I still don't know what all these numbers are supposed to mean and the colors. So hopefully we'll get that at some point. Probably we have a bunch of PDFs here. So as you can see, they're all tabbed up here. So we have this overview, then we have the Blue Mountain, then we have the faction overview, and then the Steel Plains, the waters, and an appendix. Probably we'll look at the faction overview next. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the best order of reading is, so I'm just going to do it. Critic likes that they let the GM pick the hex system scale. Yeah, I mean, though, that kind of goes without saying, right? I mean, you can always, I guess if you're a new GM and it's good to have the system tell you do what you want, but you can always do what you want. Let's see. Adaptation at the base of Blue Mountain may be plugged directly into a given campaign world without much trouble. In that instance, the Black Mist and its effects may be replaced with some other nominally chaotic force. The macaws may be substituted with traditional dragons, and the various ruins can be flavored to match your own world's history. The statue in Middle Shatermo may in fact be a portal or just an ordinary statue. It may also be run as a pocket world, entered through a portal or other means of entry. If the portal is one way, TW1 may be a good place to dump new arrivals. Oh, I don't know where TW1 is on that, so we'll have to see. Not sure. We don't have the hex fill is not here yet, so I'm not sure where TW1 is. If the portal is two-way, BM14 is a good place to introduce the party. The spoke lands are Nebula's place, and the portals that connect each chunk of land to one another may lead to different worlds entirely. Let me just look at the other MIP. Just to make sure that I've got the right one, because this says unlabeled. Okay, so yeah, there are two maps, one unlabeled. So I don't know, I don't see anything with letters on here, so we'll have to see what those letters relate to. System at the base of Blue Mountain assumes the use of Luke Gearing's Wolves Upon the Coast rules and would benefit from monsters and treasure, although these are by no means required if you own a bestiary and document for generating treasure. The module works with anything, but for the duration of their time there, magic users in similar classes should be exchanged for fighters or their equivalents. Magic is unique in the mountains. So that's kind of interesting. I probably want to run this as either a first thing or as kind of a pocket. I guess what I mean is I'd start people here. I wouldn't want someone to come in and we don't know what kind of challenges are here, but if you're kind of a magic user and you're kind of in that path and you hop over to the Blue Mountains and you lose it all, it seems kind of unfun. So I mean unfun in that, it's one of those things that I think a lot of players, as you're in your player, you dislike when you've built out this, you kind of have this thing and then it's taken away. And that can be fun and interesting for a spell, right? Oh, this is an anti-magic zone, so magic doesn't work, figure it out. Like that's cool. Maybe what's less cool is, hey, we're going to play a whole campaign or adventure in an anti-magic zone. So sorry, magic user, now you're a fighter. And it's like, well, I didn't want to play a fighter. Like if I want to play a fighter, I would have played a fighter. I want to play my magic user. So that's less fun. So I probably wouldn't have folks who have already established their characters then end up at the base of Blue Mountain and suddenly lose their abilities. I think Wolves Upon the Coast doesn't have clerics per se. I don't remember them, so that's maybe not an issue, but probably something you want to keep in mind if you're running from, say, vanilla OSR and you really dig this and you want to put your guys in. I would start here, probably. Inspirations at the base of Blue Mountain would not exist in this form without inspiration from dozens of creators. Special mentions go to Luke Gearing, whose grand campaign formed the initial inspiration for Blue Mountain, as well as K-Tray from D4 Caltrops, whose tables and hex crawling documents made it very easy for a newcomer in the OSR to actually play games instead of reading about them buying systems. The OSR Discord is far too many lovely people to name, and then they names the people: Saw for artwork, Niosis, KT Lavi, Jin, Retired Adventurer, Weird Writer, Havoc, etc., etc. Nice shout outs to folks. It's always good to shout folks out. And if you're an author and you're shouting somebody out, let them know. Let them know that they got a little shout out somewhere. I remember one time I was reading something and I got a shout out in it, and I just kind of wish, I wish the author would have let me know. Just because I would have tried to get a hold of it sooner, or whatever. Just it's fun. It's fun if you've been able to influence somebody who produces something. That's doesn't happen that much in life to get to do that. So let the folks know who have helped you along. Let them know. I mean, not in place of this. It's great to have it in the print, but let them know. Let them know that you shouted them out. In many ways, this module is the product of studying South American archaeology for the past year. There are many academics and many more non-academics doing incredibly important work uncovering and understanding the history left behind by pre-Columbian peoples. The primary sources they used while doing this research were, so we got some books: the Maya, 10th edition, the Inca Empire, formation, dissolution of a pre-capitalist state. These influences are buried within everything else, but they are there, and it would be remiss to share Blue Mountain without also sharing them. Very cool. This module is a love letter not only to science fantasy, but the Appalachian Mountains, in which the authors spent most of their formative years in and around. The goal was to create a place that felt rich with history without lore dumping, which, at least at their table, has come to fruition. All right. So very cool. So that is the overview. Let's get into the faction overview. So here are the factions who are present. So first up, we have the Animated Men. The king and his court wizard are gone, reduced to ashes by the conflagration of time. His loyal stone subjects, created out of frustration at the disobedience of flesh, await his return in their tower. The Animated Men are people of living stone whose bodies have long ago been worn down by rain and the elements, leaving them silhouettes of their beauty and detail. They want to preserve the memory and the secrets of their king at all costs. 17 still remain, all of which fight as hill giants. So it's a kind of a nice, sort of beautiful story there. And I also like that we just get this reference here. So regardless of what bestiary we're using, we can just look up hill giants and use those. Granite 96 is the only one among them who often finds himself among people. The rest are reclusive at best. They communicate through signed language if they must, but prefer not to at all. The bodies of their kin that could be recovered are entombed in the animated mausoleum. There were many once, but no longer. All right, so very nice and flavorful and short and to the point. The Chunti, masked humanoids with translucent skin. The Chunti are a solitary people that inhabit the Steel Plains. They each refer to themselves as a collective. We would not like that, or we are pleased by these outcomes, and rarely live or travel in groups of more than 7 or 8. Along their shoulder blades, each Chunti has 1d6 faces. Other Chunti who have merged into the main body. These mergings are deeply important and private affairs. When a Chunti with 6 faces on its back either merges with or accepts another merger, all 8 consciousnesses blend together and 9 infant Chunti bud off from the original body, now a husk. This process means the vast majority of Chunti are polyamorous and that their population grows incredibly slowly. Okay, so the only thing I'm confused on, I see. So 1d6 faces, and then if they get along their shoulder blades, they have up to 6. How do they get 8 from 6? I feel like am I missing something? They have faces along their shoulder blades when, I see, because if they have 6, the main face is 7, and then if they get 1 more there, you get 8. Okay, I got that now. I got that. Math is hard. I got it. Often, Chunti give the extra faces cigars, pipes, or chew. The high does not affect the body, but the consciousness buried in the face feels the effects quite vividly, and substance use is common among Chunti society. Chunti are born with a mask that covers their face. This mask changes throughout their life in response to personality and mergings. If it is separated from the Chunti for more than a few hours, the mask solidifies and no longer changes over time. This is considered a horrible fate, and Chunti will go to great lengths great personal lengths to prevent this from happening. Merged faces still retain the mask, although it fuses into the skin and becomes impossible to lose or remove. Super interesting. I'd love to know, is the mask magic? Is there some kind of ritual to create a mask? And this is just water. Fairly cool, I hope, still, for the working man. The one thing that's kind of it seems like a funny image, if you have these faces along the back and they've got pipes and chew and stuff, they're kind of smoking. Does that make it hard to wear? Are there clothes? What kind of clothes do they wear? Because you don't want to, I imagine if you have wearing something with straps or just a back cover, that would probably be uncool and maybe even disrespectful to the merged faces. Plus, if you're wearing a shirt and somebody's smoking under there, could cause some issues. So I wonder if they are shirtless or if they do something else where have something that's kind of loose, but maybe connects on the shoulders and kind of comes down. So you have their sort of backless, like, or kind of like, I guess female fashion where it has a big gap in the back where the shoulders and those faces could show themselves. Interesting. I guess I'm curious about Chunti fashion. All right, so next up is Devour, Spawn, Kill. A black mass of bird feathers and bone from rifts between the world. It crawled from the black mists at the edge of the world, ravenous, unquenchable hunger given an amoebic form. It can split itself into smaller globules of greed and has used this ability to consume for generations, although it is only recently that it has made landfall. If it could, it would wring the breath out of every living creature in a fit of caloric avarice. Truthfully, it has a pretty good chance of doing this already. There are few things Devour, Spawn, Kill cannot understand, but sound is one of them. It cannot hear, but it is an excellent lip reader. To communicate, it spells words out of its membrane, changing their color as it forms them. Its vocabulary is massive, and it uses the most pretentious words it can think of to explain itself. Frustration at being misunderstood makes it hungrier than it already was. DSK's word bank, you roll a D10. Sinistral, meaning left. Potation, meaning a drink. Mooncalf, someone who's foolish. A compeer, companion or close associate. Esurient, hungry. Pismire, an ant. Statuary, one who makes statues. A tenter, one in charge of a factory. A wheezand, the esophagus or gullet. And a popinjay, parrot or macaw. That's a really great. I'm not sure what the role is for, because I imagine I would just want to use circumstances and context to tell me which words it's using, but you got it's a D10 table if you need it. Next up, the Grem. Beneath ancient barrows, a factory stirs and Grem claw forth. Grem are small, geometric clusters of memory, amber with many limbs. They're usually content to remain in their birthplace, cataloging the stratigraphy and awaiting new protocols. But something has gone awry. The blue needle, a key component of the contraption that makes Grem, has gone missing. They will tear themselves apart looking for the blue needle, the central part of the machine that creates new Grem. All of Blue Mountain will be razed to the ground in their search. Well, I mean, certainly, if they're the key to them making more Grem, basically to that imperative of going forth and multiplying, I could see why that would be important. The Blue Needle, there's a sizable host of Grem scattered around the western half of Blue Mountain, but until recently, they had been largely unconcerned with the comings and goings of the outside world. Unbeknownst to them, Limestone 7 snuck into the factory and stole the Blue Needle, a key ingredient in creating more Grem. Their numbers have spread across the region in search of the missing piece. If the search is unsuccessful, they will raze all of Chatermo to the ground in their paranoia. All of it. The Tower of Sponta Boreal will come next, and then the Chunti and the Koche cities shall burn. They will tear themselves apart looking for it. So they really want that Blue Needle, and they're not letting anybody stop them, which, hey, fair enough. You're a dead people without the Blue Needle, basically. So yeah, want it back. The Kingdom of Chatermo. Those close to the crown in Middle Chatermo enjoy a life of luxury and excess, thriving on the excess from its villages. The kingdom eyes Chiamu and Dioxame, but is willing to bide its time, creating more weaponry and building friendly ties with Koche's regret. They'll never see it coming through the tears in their eyes. Chatermo is largely ambivalent towards the Shanti, who live in an unfavorable location to begin with. They are on peaceful terms with the animated men, who, so far as they know, only want to spend their time in the Tower of Sponta Boreal and teach people the secret of magic. So I like this. I like getting a little bit of getting some of the diplomatic right? Okay, so we know some things about their, as a faction, they're kind of, they have a goal. They want to expand, grabbing Chiamu and Deoxame, and now we know something kind of who they're friends. They don't have any enemies yet. It doesn't seem like, obviously, but we kind of know what their terms are with their neighbors. The Quoche inhabit the coast and much of the waters. Their society revolves around the use of colored bead earrings, which denote social status and importance in the hierarchy. The people with the most beads, more than 3, are allowed to participate in debates to determine the future of the Quoche. Beads are supposed to be awarded for the discovery of valuable or useful technology. Over time, this has resulted in nepotism and the ritual rediscovery of the same handful of artifacts to ensure hereditary social continuation. The nobility wants to keep things as they are, while the lower beads want to claim the 3 bead status for themselves. So this is kind of neat. A couple things, right, that they're kind of going through, or I guess at this point would be a charade. You kind of have these discoveries noted down, and you send your kids out to go find them again so they can get their beads. But actual progress and real discovery is slowed down or stopped. And maybe, we don't know, but maybe they do things to put a damper on other folks actually discovering new things, or discovering they're doing their own rediscoveries to keep the system as is. So the bead system, 0 is most agriculturalists, fishermen, or laborers. 1 would be particularly wealthy laborers and most seasoned Quoche adventurers. 2 for the most veteran Quoche adventurers are scholars, academics, and artisans. And finally, 3, anything above or equal to 3 is reserved for noble families or master artisans. The Quoche use ears as currency, which are either the ears of statues found in the shallow parts of the waters or severed ears dipped in quicklime. That second one seems a little rough. The controversial nature of this currency is discussed among all members of Quoche society and beyond. Those who are all ears are, ironically, the least likely to listen to these conversations. A little pun, but I like it. I'm all ears. No, you're not, because you want to keep all them ears. Ears dipped in quicklime. Okay, so there we go. Those are the factions. I am not going to remember all of these. It would take some time to sink in, but we've got it. Now on to the Blue Mountains. So I'm guessing here we're going to have the hexfill. We're going to be at the start of the hexfill, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something because we have this BM and there's another one. I'm guessing one of these. We've seen some different sort of labeling here. I'm going to say that Blue Mountains probably means this darker blue area here is the actual Blue Mountains. And then maybe this lower one, maybe this is the Steel Plains. And then this is the waters. Because they all have separate numbering. So this one starts at 1, goes up to 21. This one starts at 1, goes to, can't tell what that is. Is that 18? And this one goes from 1. So I'm going to say, but I think this is where just for another version, just make this image a little bit bigger and just put the things in here. Or I think, I don't know if it's simple. I mean, it might be simpler to just label everything from 1 to a bigger number, and then you don't have to worry about it. You can just use the 1 number to call out. I'm not sure, or use a 2, a column and a row thing. But I think hopefully for an update, add some of these area labels in here. The only mountain that is actually blue is BM10, which let's see, is right here, if I've got this correct. Right there. The rest are all dull gray. Chatermonites speak Chatermoy, have a 1 in 6 chance of speaking either Chunt or Quoch. Quoch. Graham speaks through emotion. Animated men can understand Chatermoy and Quoche, but use the signed language versions of both of these to communicate. And now we have some, okay, so then we get some background on the full place. Encounters for Blue Mountain. Overland encounters occur on a 1 in 6. When traveling through the wilderness, roll a d6. When traveling by road, roll a d10. Roll a d10. Do we have, I don't see roads listed, so I'm not sure. Are there roads? I don't know. So let's see. I'm not going to read through all these encounters, but let's just look at one to get an idea. 2 Graham are sitting beneath an aspen tree. One is comforting the other, who is distraught about the loss of the blue needle. So that's a nice thing. Kind of almost a little adventure hook, because if the party shows some curiosity about this, then they might discover that, oh, the blue needle's missing, and maybe someone can say, please get it for us before we burn this place to the ground, or, however. But that's a good way of letting them know, alerting them to that this thing is happening, that they can potentially interact with. And I'll read one more. Let's go for number 8. Middle Chatermo guardsmen joke with 2 miners from Upper Chatermo who seem nervous and stiff. Hidden among their belongings is a plan for revolution. Ooh, plan. Did we miss Chatermo? Where was Chatermo? I didn't see them in were they in the list? Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is the luxury and excess, those who are close to the crown. So clearly this society is not balanced, not doing well. There's inequalities there, so it makes sense maybe the revolutionary talk. And now we get to the actual hex fill. So we just got, so we got an overview, we got some encounters, and now into the actual hexes themselves. I'm not going to read all of these, I don't think, but I want to get through some, get the flavor going. So we got number 1 here, so we'll read it. These are the Grem mounds. A small cluster of hills. When it is raining, quiet explosions sound from deep within the mounds. When the Grem die, their remains are tossed into big mounds in this area. Eventually, the amber will grow glass and become indistinguishable from soil, but recent excursions have led to a considerable layer of new deposits. For every hour spent here, they may find 1d6 empty Grem cells, the source of each Grem's life. Filling them with water and shaking them causes the cell to expand and sizzle, eventually exploding in an orange spray of acid and superheated water. Carrying them causes the Grem horror akin to wearing a necklace of human hearts on your trip to the local grocery. So it's some good context. There's those cells, could be useful. You don't want Grem to see you with them. And given that their tempers and what they're willing to do, seems like a bad idea. So that, I think, is up here at 1. Blue Mountain 1. Here we have our first donjon. This would be the factory. And what does it say here? There's a 3 in 6 chance that 2d6 Grem appear every turn. There are 54 Grem currently in the factory and another 46 across the Blue Mountains. So there's a nice kind of counter. I mean, if you have a particularly murderous bunch of players, they could potentially exhaust the numbers of Grem who are in the factory. Probably I wouldn't want to try it, but So it's a nice, simple simple 1-level dungeon, maybe. We're not sure what these pits are. But you got some looping, it's got some multiple entrance and entrances and ways to get around. We got here, we got one here. It's somewhat symmetrical, but not completely symmetrical, which is kind of nice. Room key. I'm not going to read through all the rooms, but the hangar, which is, what is it? That is this main open room. I'm interested in that one. Let's see. A large open room with ancient machinery in large piles of rust. 3d6 Grem are huddled around one of these piles, and a single Grem is within it trying to start something. And they're, as giant, and then you can roll a d6. I guess this is, let's see. They're trying to start the engine up, so I'm guessing you roll a d6, and that says what happens as they're trying to start the machine. So one could be catastrophic failure, the machine explodes, immobile legs, the machine works to life, ancient metal hinges squealing, the legs have fused together, its arms are long and dexterous still, so maybe its arms or its legs are immobile, but the rest of the machine is working. Or it could be that its arms are immobile, but the rest of it's working. It's got one arm and one leg working. There's an operator error. Oh no, the machine clanks and sputters to life, but a jet of pressurized steam melts the Grem inside and destroys the controls. Or the second wind, the machine works to life, rusty but functional. I don't know if I'd like to know more. I think I kind of would like some notes to what the machine actually looks like, or give me a table I can roll on, because it's got arms and legs since we're getting here. Is it like a crab? Is it humanoid? Like what is it exactly? Does it also have wheels? Maybe give me a little something, but of course, otherwise, just, as with all these things, read them before you're going to run them. That way, when you get to this room, and because I'd want to describe what the machine is, right? So I'd like to know. So either just know in advance, okay, I'm going to have to decide. Could be fun to. determine what exactly the machine is, but I like what's going on here. The only thing here, I'll say this, just because for fun, is if they didn't have it, or sorry, the Grem couldn't start it, that means that a player could, and then these things could happen with the player. So I almost prefer if the Grell can't start it, or they're looking at it but no one's inside, and this way, whatever happens in the room, we don't. One thing with this dungeon, we don't have an idea of how the party is perceived by the Grem. So if the party just shows up, are they walking around? Can the Grem just? Could one of the players say, "Hey, let me in, let me give it a try," which I totally would want to do. But I'm just thinking now. That's one interesting thing is we don't get a sense of is the party allowed to be in the factory? Are they going to see as hostile? That might be a good note. Of course, you can use morale and reactions to do that, but I don't know. You don't get a sense of whether the Grell are just in terms of this factory. Is it something that they would think? I guess it Grem, that it's protected, it's their home, and they would feel like you're trespassing, or whether it's something like, hey, come check it out, come take the guided tour. Either way would be cool. In fact, actually, the guided tour might, in some ways, be more fun because you get to interact with stuff. Whereas if this were all just like basically hostile creatures, you might not really have a chance. And then we get some more about the factory. Then there's also the memory pit, the Grem memory pit here in B3. Oh, I think we're going in rows, or sorry, columns. I'm kind of curious what's in 21. Debris from the steel house, the steel house. Okay. I don't know. There's nothing to encounter in these ancient halls. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. It's like nothing at all. What's in 7? Room 7 of the steel house has got those. Are they eggs? Look like Easter eggs. Wait, what is it? Inside this container, shriveled remains of humanoid figures. See room 7. Yes, I want to see room 7. All right, the water chambers. A circular room with 5 pools. Oh, they're pools of water. 5 pools of what is seemingly water, but is, like, we have a parenthetical with a question mark. Amniotic fluid. Submerged beneath the surface of 2 are humanoid figures with elongated necks and oblong heads. As vampires, no charm or gaseous beast form. These are the remnants of the crew of the steel house, locked in eternal slumber. I see. So the steel house is a ship. Are we getting a little Barrier Peaks-ish? And I could see how with that point, you could see a little bit how there might be a ship interior. Great. Let me just read the description of the outside. Great white metal shards are embedded in the earth here, like shrapnel or asbestos in a lung. Well, that's a good image. The metal is surprisingly light and could be reasonably forged into any weapon. Weapons made from the metal are much lighter than their normal counterparts, but otherwise normal. Okay. Oh, I see. I guess nothing to encounter. There's no random encounters inside the steel house is maybe what I'm getting. It is empty. All right. So yeah, it seems like a ship potentially. Or I suppose you could explain it however you like. B5 is a nice view of Blue Mountain. I like that. But wait, is Blue Mountain? Which one of these is actually Blue Mountain? Is it 1 or 10? Didn't they say? Hold on a minute. They said it somewhere. Blue Mountain's B10. Now, hold on a minute. So if Blue Mountain's B10, I think, you're telling me you have a nice view here. I guess maybe it's just elevation because you're looking all the way back across. You are as far away from Blue Mountain as you can get without going into a different zone. So that's interesting. I would have thought maybe one of these, but still. The hills rise here above the shrubbery at just the right angle to see Blue Mountain in all its cerulean splendor. Another great word. Visible from this hilltop are both the Tower of Sponta Boreal and the Loomstone. Oh, well, we don't know where the Tower Sponta Boreal. It would be nice to label these. I think I would appreciate some extra labeling on the map because it is slightly difficult to get oriented without labels. And even for Blue Mountain, it's the name of the adventure. So maybe put a star or some special symbol for a peak would be good. Also, just say, hey, here's Blue Mountain. Here we got it here. Here we go. But you can all that because that stuff can be added in. Ashroot Gorge. Okay, let's get to so so here we have Lower Chatermo, which is 9. So right here. And this one may be interesting to look at because we get an example of a city or a settlement, I should say. 121 people, 25 skirmishes, 5 footmen. A loose cluster of wooden huts built at the foot of the mountains. Fishing boats hang on the sides of huts, and small gardens of maize stretch out into the fields to the south. The huts are ramshackle and small. There's no surplus here. Armed men come from Middle Chatermo every other day with litters to carry goods to and from the city. All people here wear ankle-length skirts and talk slowly, arriving at the point of the conversation only after visiting its relatives and next of kin. I like that. Very nice. Nice flavor. And then we've got you can roll a d6 for, I guess, if you run across somebody, you grab somebody off the street, some kind of encounter. There's Jedediah Burrs, Raul Diadem, Abner the Weaver, Beatrice Numeno, Numo, Judas Onar, and Samuel Nitch. That old Sam Nitch. And then we got some places: the Square, Tremorton's Forge, Alamanora's Hut, the dining hall, the guard post, and a shrine to the ancient father. And then we have some more people who are the important people, the VIPs, if you will. Witch Alamanora, Amelia Tremorton, Sarah Bitch, Speckles, the village cat. I appreciate that the village cat, isn't a VIP. Mary Bitch, and Lee, who oversees foraging and hunting. And we got some rumors. That old red macaw harassed some fishermen the other day. Amelia's husband was killed and a few others wounded. She is forging weaponry to slay it herself at night when the guards leave. Poor thing will get herself killed. Well, if that doesn't sound like a plot hook, I don't know what is. So that would assume that here, if I'm getting this right, the middle water. So it seems like, I don't remember, I don't have wolves in front of me to know the travel times, but it obviously can't be too far to get from here at the foot of the mountains down here. Because if you're going to do all this stuff in a reasonable time to go down there, presumably fish and come back home, so maybe you could just, in these hexes, I don't know if these are supposed to be a shoreline, so there's shallows here and deeper, but can't be too far. Oh, and then 10, which is, wait a minute, I thought BM10 isn't that the Blue Mountain? It's also the Tower of Sponta Boreal. Okay. 9. I thought 10. Or is this 10? See, now, again, a confusion. I'm assuming that it's in the same place. So it must be on the side of the mountain, I guess. A square tower juts out of the mountain here, rending earth and sky together in its existence. The tower is hewn from blue stone and stretches 7 stories high. Well, it makes sense if it's that blue stone that it's on the Blue Mountain. We got some things about the floors. I'm not going to read all of those. Here we go. The Loomstone. Now, this is where I am keen to learn more. The summit of the mountain sports a large engraved stone plate, atop which sits a blue stone carved to resemble a loom. Within the stone lives the weaver, who freely offers up her knowledge on how to harness magic from the world. Each person who wishes to learn sacrifices 1 hit die of health, though they cannot die from this and will have at least 1 hit point. And gains so I guess if you're at 1 and you went down to 0, you would have 1 hit point. And gains the ability to retrieve spells from other places in the world. If a person does the above, they can cast Mend the Weave once every 24 hours. What does that do? Well, Mend the Weave, the spell, indicates that the caster may repair or otherwise mend a hole in a non-living substance so long as the hole is not bigger than the caster's rough size, which is actually pretty good. A human-sized hole in a non-living substance that you can mend is good. Now, it won't help you open it up. So you can't open a hole in the mountain by unmending. I'm guessing there's not a negative version of the spell. What would that be? Tear the weave? Cut the weave? But still, that's a pretty powerful thing. It'll put you in good stead with some of the creatures, though I guess they're all, some of them, because we have all these sort of creatures made of stone or other substances, not flesh, but I'm going to guess that they count as living. So maybe they wouldn't work here. But still, you can do some stuff with that. I'm curious if now that means you can get other spells or how you get other spells other than that 1. We have the animated mausoleum. And now we get to the vine-covered manor. Ian says this would be the most powerful spell known in the Looney Tunes universe. This is true. This is true. I feel like you could. Well, I guess it depends in the Looney Tune universe what's considered non-living, right? If you think about Toontown from Who Killed Roger Rabbit, it seemed like everything was pretty much alive. So it might be super unhelpful. But in the real world, I mean, just think of what you could do. I mean, you could, here's a door. Oh, shutting that door for good. Just gonna seal that thing shut. I mean, you could do a whole lot of nasty stuff. However, or if stuff were broken, hey, the airplane door got ripped open in some kind of horrible, accident at altitude. Well, you could seal that thing shut, but can't open it up again. So you got to be careful. Don't want to seal yourself up accidentally. Or maybe you need a jackhammer. You got to carry a jackhammer with you or something, or a chisel, hammer and chisel to make sure you can get out of any place you get into. We have the mini city and the fluorescent library. That is over, I think, over here. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this. I'm curious as to why there's only one. I'm gonna go check out 21 because I'm curious. Is that a lake? Is that supposed to be? Because I'm guessing this and this are the same color, so water and water. But let's see. Oh, this is another interior location. I really kind of dig small dungeons. I am totally down with small, kind of as my chair now is. My chair had been hanging in there, but now is descending beneath me slightly. I really dig it. I like these small dungeons that are kind of bite-sized. Could have a lot going on, maybe not, depending on the context. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my chair. Ugh, there we go. But I find that I think for myself, I don't necessarily need a whole bunch of super big dungeons. And these could be places that you could end up visiting multiple times, depending on your context, like the factory. Maybe you go there on friendly terms, and you have to go back and it's unfriendly. And all those things can change the context of what's going on. So let's see, where did I? Oh, so we have Middle Chatermo, 500 people, 50 skirmishers, 15 Marines, the King's Guard, and 35 footmen. And we have some lists again, like in the other settlement, lists of places and important people, VIPs, and then rumors. The King's Shame. The remains of an incredibly thick brass wall remain here, covered in black thorns and blood-red roses that look like open wounds. Well, that's a nice image. There are a variety of other stones placed on top of the wall, shaped like broken skulls. The thorns cut anyone who touches the remains of the wall to ribbons, but touching one of the skulls causes the roses to titter with laughter. Well, that's very creepy. And then we get Upper Chatermo. Sorry. They didn't give us a number. I wonder if that's, I'm guessing that's just an omission. We don't get the number of residents for this one. And by the way, like, this to me is totally fine for settlements. I don't need the map. I mean, look, if you have a map, great, but I don't need it. This is good. Hey, Sam, what's going on? Okay. All right. So that is the end. Okay. All right. So each document is one of these. So now we've gone through looking at some of the places in the Blue Mountains, which, like I said, I'm going to say it's up here that we don't get what 21 is. Wait a minute. 18. Oh, wait a minute. No, I was wrong. I was all wrong. Now that I see it, the Blue Mountains is actually this here. So maybe this is water. Maybe this is the Steel Plains and this is the waters? You see, I had it all wrong. I was thinking maybe we were going sort of top to bottom. In other words, high altitude, low altitude, but I was totally wrong. Okay. Well, it doesn't change too much, but obviously, boys and girls, if you're going to run this, make sure you read it up, and hopefully they'll update the map to give more of those things. Okay, so Blue Mountains actually seeing here as mistake. I mean, I guess part of the complication here is a bunch of stuff is blue. So you have the Blue Mountains, and we have 3 things that are kind of shaded blue. So I assumed that the darkest blue also was kind of Blue Mountains, and it's not. It's this kind of middle light blue. All right, it can't be the bottom. right? Because that doesn't have, does that have 18 also? 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh, there are two with 18. I'm going to say it's, we'll have to get context hopefully, but I'm going to assume that's not it. Well, we'll know because the next one will either have 21 or 18, and then we'll get an idea. So the steel plains, the split between the Blue Mountains and the Steel Plains is abrupt and jagged, like two pieces of jigsaw crushed together by an angry and juvenile hands. Upturned stone and ragged faults litter the border. This place is not meant to be here, and yet here it is. One shot of the world driven angrily into another. That's great. I really like that again. And hey, you know what? For the folks out there saying that don't make no sense, Earth isn't like that. Well, you're not on Earth, and guess what? It's not meant to be here, and yet here it is. Perfect. Anybody who's going to complain, no need to complain. So I'm going to zoom to the end because I want to see how many hexes we have. 21. Okay, so this is the gray marsh, which I wanted to see. All right, so the steel plains are the dark blue. Yeah, I think methinks a new color scheme might be in order. It's called steel. Steel is gray. Use gray for this. This is called the black. What do they call it? The black mist. Just make it black. And then, then it would make a whole lot more sense. And now maybe this is labeled somewhere else and I missed it, but I've pretty much gone through most everything. So in version 2, or in the next update, maybe recolor that, or putting some labels will probably go a long way. But I think recoloring it, because I don't get, if it's the steel plains, I'm not sure I get dark blue out of that. Maybe makes it needlessly complicated. But in terms of this one, let's read through the gray marsh. The lake turns into a marsh here. Oh, is this because it's a big lake? Is that what we're meant to understand? Hold on. Now I got to scroll back up to the front. What did I miss? Is it all a lake? It just says it's plains. So no, it's okay. So it's not all. It isn't all. It isn't all. I see, because the greater lake is this lighter blue. Okay. Let's go and read, because I am interested in that. Let's read about the gray marsh. So the lake, indicating this area, not other numbered areas, turns to marsh here. Travelers will quickly find that this entire area squelches with fresh blood. Spectral apparitions cling to the strands of nearby consciousness here, causing visions and hallucinations. They will not fight the party, but will disrupt and bother them at every opportunity. The dead have the rest of their lives to pester the living. Another great line. Anyone sleeping near this area has horrible nightmares of drowning and awake to find their mouth and nose covered in blood. That's creepy. Den of the Devoured. Each time the party enter this dungeon, roll a d6. The number rolled is the number of rooms that have instances, of Devour, Spawn, Kill in them. Have instances of Devour, Spawn, Kill in them in addition to the normal contents. Roll a d8 to determine which rooms have Devour, Spawn, Kill, and another d6 to determine how many instances are in each room. Each instance has 3 hit dice and does d6 plus 1 damage to the target. They attack on sight always and never flinch. Why would a man fear an ant? That's a good question. I mean, unless they're like a whole bunch of fire ants, and then in which case we run. All right, so we get a different sort of dungeon here. So this is one of those, a vertical slice. So you get this, I'm guessing this, or is it a vertical slice? Maybe it's not. Hold on a minute. No, maybe it is. It I can't tell, because we got the squares here, but then I also feel like this is showing a shoot. No, I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Just the curlicues give it that. The den of the devoured. It feels like it is a vertical slice. I guess it is vertical. Yeah, I think this comes down here. That's a great note. Whoop, death. So I think this is a shoot. I guess what's confusing me is the squares, because if we're looking at it vertically, I don't know that I need the squares. And the squares don't follow the 3-dimensionality of it. But, we can figure it out. Oh, there's a note here. What's this? Oh, here we go. 1d6 or 1 foot or 1d6 3 meters. Reroll. Each time party re-enters, embrace strange results, and make this place weird. That's a good note. All right, what does the D6s do? Okay, we got that for the devoured. Curious if there's, what's that D6s? I don't see a table for that though. What is the D6? 1d6 or 10, 1d6 times 10 feet. Oh, each one of these? So the sizes, I guess, are variable and changes each time the party re-enters. Is that what that means? I could use maybe a little bit more explanation, maybe? And then basically they're bits of that devour, spawn, kill running around in there. Hey, the roost, what is up? Okay, it's a neat little dungeon. Here, I'll just read the treasure. Devour, spawn, kill pops like a balloon, and buried within its masses is the horde of a people drowned in their hubris. 13,000 silver, 450 ears. Remember, ears are a gross currency. 11 sets of crochet three bead earrings. Oh, that's could be pretty powerful. A key to the interior of the prism in landing craft. Other worlds await your arrival. So that's a way to get out, go elsewhere. The circlet of the philosopher king, leader of the animated men. The bronze spear of crochet. And a perfect miniature of the statue from Middle Shatermo, thrums with magical energy and purpose. And the bronze spear is kind of an anti-macaw, or aka dragon, kind of dragon alternative, or what a dragon is here. Very cool. So a lot of it feels like there's a lot of different threads that you can open or close if you can take care of devour, spawn, kill. And then finally, we're into the waters, which is this section down here. The water laps against the side of the mountains here. Unintended ocean boxed in by black mist. And then let's see, just an encounter. The first encounter we could roll. The red macaw is attacking a crochet vessel overladen with valuable goods. So this is TW1, right? So we get these. Is there anything particularly interesting? So we're getting down to the hour. So I'm just going to see if there's any last thing. We have Chiamu. Didn't get inhabitants numbers for Chiamu. I want to add those in. TW6 is destruction. What's destruction? So that's right here. Scorched earth, burnt homes, a small cluster of houses raised by the animated men. In the center of the carnage, a marble statue of an old bearded king, defaced, covered in soot, draped in fine cloth. Following the carnage into the hills that surround the town leads to 6 holes filled with viscera. Ugh. The remains of the villagers, nearly 4 dozen, have been separated by body parts, with separate graves for heads, arms, legs, and torsos. The heads have been crushed to a bony paste. Yet again, a wonderful, wonderful image. And then we have a table of bits and baubles, this time a 2d6 table. Let's see, what's number 9? A small wooden bowl set still full of some kind of soup. There is an eye floating around the rim of the bowl. Drinking it, including the eye, gives the last moments of the owner a quick end at the hands of a basalt monstrosity. I'm sure somebody will drink the soup and the eye. But that'll be that question. Oh, I'm going to drink the soup and the eye. And then there's a little squirming in the eye. Yeah, and the eye. And then you get that kind of... I would probably give something. I think I'd like to give some kind of... I'm not sure. I think if you go through that, maybe there's something I can give and take away. I don't know. I'd like that to be... I think I'd want to add a bit more meaning to it. But, that's... As if I were the GM running this myself, of course I can do that. The scholar's brain. The head of a great statue juts from the water here. Atop the head, erosion has revealed a hidden chamber. Waterlogged books and mildewed scrolls. A giant macaw, as a red dragon, lives here with a taste for flesh and a desire to watch the cities of men burn. It's often out terrorizing small boats and merchant caravans. 2 in 6 chance of being present during the day. 5 in 6 chance of returning every turn, with 1 turn's worth of advanced warning. Flash of red on the horizon, growing ever closer and larger with each heartbeat. It has terrific eyesight. And then it uses treasure. You can use from the Wolves Upon the Coast treasure supplement, or 300 silver, 400 ears, 2 half-eaten bundles of coca leaves, 4 bronze ingots, a memo stone. Oh, Press and hold button on the side to record audio. Shake violently to replay. That's cool. And then some Forever Ink and a Dagger of the Philosopher King. Very nice stuff. Sam says, bits and trinkets tables rock. Yep. I like that. I do too. I have a bathhouse, a drowned guidestone, Quochet's Regret, which is number 10, which is right there. The head of a colossal statue erupts from the water here. Its face is downtrodden, and water runs from its eyes. Atop the head and down the neck are a collection of homes, the birthplace of the Quochet. The more beads you have, the higher you live on the statue. That's a great feature. The most respected members of Quochet society gather water from the eyes. 60 skirmishers, 35 archers, two dozen fishing boats. We don't have an idea of how many actual people. So maybe I think another note here. Let's be consistent with this kind of listing for the settlements, because I think it's very useful, and I know it's missing on some, but I think I like having the defenders, but I want to have the defenders, and the fishing boats is a nice note too. But let's get the amount of people and that stuff for all the settlements. So we have some denizens, at some important places, and some VIPs, and some rumors, aka, it's been a minute since any of the big beads have come down from the crown. The id's been burning a lot lately, too. What are they up to? I don't know. What are they up to? Quochet's tomb. 2 and 6 per turn. This place is well populated. Use the reaction roll to determine activities and general attitude. See, I like this. They should have more notes about reaction rolls, or either put their own or use it. Because like in the factory, there's no note at all about is the party welcome, unwelcome, how that works. So, and we have some encounters. 1d6, devour, spawn, kill, sludges, foreign escapee intruders in the tomb as gray ooze. Nice. Benevolent adventures, but they're as bandits. But they have a +2 to the reaction roll. So they are actually benevolent, even though statistically they are bandits. And then we get the tomb. And then we have, there's a monolith. The Mercantile Retreat, which is right here. Aximal's Bay, Fetid Flags, and then the Macaw Andron lives down here at the very far end. Or let's see, what is it? Is it no? Because we saw the Macaw lives, I think, over here. No, where did we see the Macaw? I don't know. Well, let's see. Here we have a large circular temple with columns and a dome top. Within, the walls and roof are painted with beautiful depictions of macaws and colorful birds. 6 macaw, a giant blue macaw, lounges amidst large benches and sleeps noisily. He is the last of his kind and wants only to see his insane brother, right, that's the one, the red one, put to rest. He is beyond saving. In exchange, he will offer what he knows. 6 macaws saw the world shatter. There's much he's willing to share, but he is legendary for his quipping and short nature. All right. So I kind of find it doesn't really matter, because if they never find this, it's fine, but you're much more likely to end up at the red macaw first than to get all the way down here to meet them. So it might be nice, some connective tissue to develop, or I suppose you develop it yourself, why they might want to go seek out the blue macaw rather than get confronted early with the red. But that's it. So then we have an appendix. It's got some new spells. All spells, okay, right. All spells not listed here. We don't see, so the one thing, if you're tuning in late, you can conventional OSR magic spellcasting does not work here. You have to go to this place called the Loom. You have to give up a hit die, and then you lose you lose that hit die, and you gain 1 spell. And the question I had was, well, how do you gain more spells? I don't know that we got the answer. Do you just go back to the Loom at, say, every level up and you can learn a new spell? We don't know, but we do have some more spells. One is Tidal Wave, another one's Listen, and another one's False Coins, which seems like that could be all kinds of mischief. And then we have the Bestiary, which I don't remember being mentioned, but we scroll, I was not reading every single entry, so I'm sure they show up somewhere. But we have a Quechula, Lapido, Caracola, and a Rurtle. And we have some new weapons. A Macahuitl, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, 2-handed Macahuitl, Bola, and an Atlatl. And there's an, okay, so here we go. This might be interesting just to end things. We have an alternate advancement system. So remember, this was based and not primarily, but it was based on Wolves Upon the Coast. And that's kind of the suggested rule set default to use. And that advancement system of Wolves Upon the Coast is this idea of making boasts to do something, and then you gain your level up, but then you have to do the thing you said. So you might say, I'm going to go kill that hill giant, and then you would get, that would kind of be your way of leveling up, but then you have to go kill the hill giant, right? That's kind of how it, I'm probably missing some nuance there, but that's essentially how it works. You make boasts, the boasts give you your level up, you level up right away from making the boast, but then you are bound to actually fulfill your boast, or, you know, die trying, whatever. So we have an alternate advancement system. The playtests of At the Base of Blue Mountain use this system of advancement in lieu of boasts from Wolves Upon the Coast. To gain hit dice or increase their attack bonus, a player may make a stela. Stela are physical markers of a great deed. The footsteps of great heroes leave stela in their wake. Making a stela takes a night of rest and must include the name of the character, their deed, and the date on which it was performed. During the night on which the stela is made, the player does not get any benefits from rest. Stela must be displayed in a public place in order to grant their benefits. If a stela is destroyed intentionally, the character loses the benefit until the culprit is found and punished. Stela commemorate mighty deeds, anniversaries, and cosmic events. Here's a non-exhaustive list of things that would demand planting a stela. I love this. I love it. The one thing I'm not sure about, it could be fun, but it could also be really irritating, is someone going around destroying your stela. Seems like a really cheap heat because they lose the benefit. So I don't know where you're putting it. Have to be somewhere public, but does that mean in a settlement, or can they be somewhere that's just open to the air? Like you could go some weird, but it's public. I'm not sure, because the problem with putting it, or the problem is, right, you put it in settlement and then someone comes around and just decides to knock them down, then they could, you know, all of a sudden erase several levels until you punish them. You know what I mean? I might want to make it a little bit more difficult to do, or I don't know, something. But I really love the idea of the stela. I don't remember seeing any stela enlisted in the thing, so I might want to go back through here and put stela on roads and things so people can see the deeds. This is a way of really world building the deeds of peoples who came before you. So I might want to pepper those in, or pepper them in, sprinkle them in. Brian says El Barto is the BBEG ruining stela. Yeah, that could be. All right, so what might demand planning a stela? Celebrating a holiday via legendary drunken revelry, great martial skill on the first or last day of the month, performing a great deed for the second time, one named interval of time after the first time. Well, that's maybe a better way to write that out. But here the example is slaying a second vampire a week, a Nundine a fortnight, or a lunar month, luster, or Khatun after slaying the first. So basically kind of doing something twice in a certain interval. I don't know if that's a better way of explaining it. Watching a god die. All right. How often is that going to happen? I don't know. Destroying the stela of a tyrant. Observing the turning of an age. Stela may be made from any material so long as the following conditions are true. The material is directly related to a deed performed by the player. The femur of a foe would count, but a nearby tree from the battlefield would not. This does not apply to stela where this would be impossible, like those made in commemoration of holidays or major calendrical dates. Use common sense. The deed is not a repeat of another unless the deed occurred in a named interval of time after the original deed. So they can be made out of a lot of stuff, which means some of them might be kind of, I feel like, not permanent enough. But I really love that idea. Love it, love it, love it. And there it is. That is Blue at the Base of Blue Mountain. So a lot to dig here, a lot to like. A lot to like. It is rough around the edges. Right? I would consider this kind of a beta, work in progress, but you can get in on the down floor. It is name your own price, which means AKA if you just want to download it, you can, though. I think a lot of effort went in here. It seems like a lot of TLC. It's got a very unique setting or micro setting, whatever you want to call it, going on here. Definitely a different vibe from a lot of other stuff, which I really appreciate. I think the map is something that I think could just be improved just for better usability and accessibility. I mean, we could figure it out, and we did figure it out, but there's no reason not to either use a naming, just use numbering that will just make a lot more sense without, or just giving the labels or using labels and colors, do some different things there. Just keep in mind that this overview document we looked at the beginning is not a PDF at the moment. You have to make it yourself from Markdown. That was an oversight, but all the Markdown files are in the zip file, which means that if you want to edit this stuff and really make it your own, you have the source files. You can make your own PDFs. All the maps are nice. They're clean. Just give you what you need. And yeah, on the whole, a really fun, interesting read. So support, if you're looking at something different in a hex crawl, support the creator. Good stuff. I always like stuff that's different, off the beaten path. This one was just put out yesterday, so brand spanking new. So get it while it's hot. That's all I got for now, folks. If you enjoyed this, let me know. If you have some stuff that you found on Itch or elsewhere, particularly from smaller creators, so I'd love to give what little rub I can to some folks who could use it. Let me know. That's all I've got. Have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye now.